Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! Happy Hanukkah! Festive Kwanzaa! Wonderful winter solstice! Ramadan? Let's have some fun!
Ooh. Ba-da-ba-ba. Ba-da-ba-ba. All right. Promoter 101. 12 Nights of Christmas. Promoter 101. Promoter 101.
Hey, this is Rick Canny from Favor the Artist Management, and you're listening to Promoter 101.
Hey, welcome to Promoter 101. It's the 12 Days of Christmas Super Spectacular. We want to give a shout out to Craig Newman for the holiday version of our song. Craig's a great musician and an amazing friend. We got a featured interview coming up with him very soon on the podcast, but not today. Today we've got a surprise interview, and just ready to unveil the secret, my friend Luke Pierce is going to tell us what's coming up today.
Thanks, Dan, and welcome. This is day 10. There are only 3 more of these, everybody. 10, 11, 12 of the 12 Days of Christmas on Promoter 101. And today, retail mastermind, Mr. Bob Rupp. He's going to take us through the story of selling music from his home to running one of the most successful drum shops in the world and his current gig at Sabian Cymbals.
This is Mike Barsh with Soda Jerk Presents in Denver, and this is Promoter 101.
We continue our world tour. Catch us when we come to a town near you.
Next on deck for Promoter 101 will be live at the FlyCon conference in the Big Easy, New Orleans, January 16th at 2 p.m. We'll be recording Promoter 101 live with a special guest from Locken and the Brooklyn Bowl, Mr. Peter Shapiro. Looking forward to it, Dan.
Yeah, and you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at The Jew. The show's at Promoters 101, and it's plural, Promoters with an S, 101. And you can always catch Luke at W. Luke Pierce.
Of course, it's Dan and I talking every week. You hear enough of us, but it doesn't have to be that way. We're ready to listen. Send us an email with your ideas to steiny@promoter101.net. We can't wait to hear what's on your mind, and we give you our sworn promise to respond to every inquiry in a timely manner because you matter to us.
Promoter 101, Rich Mills, the Feldman Agency.
Dan, our next guest has got a long storied history. Bob Rupp truly is a mastermind of retail. This guy used to get people into his drum store with the slogan, "Fuck off and drum" at Rupp's Drums. Currently at Sabian Cymbals, we're going to welcome to Promoter 101, Mr. Bob Rupp.
Promoter 101, we're in Denver, Colorado, and I'm joined by a dear old friend, Bob Rupp. Thank you so much for being here.
Danny, I've known Danny since he was about 10.
All right. A legend in the music industry, particularly in Colorado, because Rupp's Drums is what the community was built around. I think the vibe of it was you guys used to run ads that said, "Fuck off and drum."
Fuck off and drum, sex, drums, and rock and roll, beat me, drums are the most fun you can have without laughing, and the list goes on and on. Every year I'd come up with a new one. Will Drum for Food was my most famous one. I got the idea with these homeless guys with the cardboard, and they get a magic marker and scratch out, "Will work for food." And I just got the same font from my T-shirt guy and said, "Will Drum for Food." Anybody's using that now. I never copyrighted that. I should have.
The National Drummers always hung out at your store when they were in town.
Correct.
And it was always the vibe of, this is the place you can hang out. You go after school, shop around. You didn't have to spend money. You were allowed to hit the stuff.
You can come in anytime and hit the stuff. Just don't break it.
It was a very cool thing. How do you position yourself as that store and as that company?
Well, my first one was in my living room, for 2 years with all the bands in Denver at that time, which was like the Rumble, Dick and the Chicks, the Original Rabbits, all these bands that are sort of over now, but 30, 40 years ago, we were headline acts all over the place. They would rehearse there. And I'd have a little drum shop in the corner. And so drummers would come by on the weekends and we'd throw drum parties and get people excited. Then I moved into a 400 square foot retail front, which turned into an 800 square foot retail front, which turned into 1,600 square foot. And then we moved across the street where it's still there, which is 2,400 square feet.
So the place that was originally across from KZY was the first place?
Correct, yes. And oddly, I still keep in touch with some of the KZY people. So we started in the building it's in now because I sold the business years ago. I was a journalist before that, and I would go to like all the concerts and Rainbow, and I played the Rainbow constantly as well. So I got to know many of the artists that came through. As a journalist, I would engage them and do stories on them. Then I kept in touch with them. And that was a lot harder back then because no one had cell phones. And all you had was like maybe the manager number or the drummer's number. But I kept in touch with all those people. So when I opened the shop and I let them know what was going on, they would stop by. Now, once again, this is way before the internet, way before cell phones. They had to call me at the shop and let me know they're coming in. And so we had, at that time, a big enough parking lot where tour buses could hang all night if they wanted. I didn't care. So you'd have non-drummers hanging out all day. Marilyn Manson would come in all the time. Billy Gibbons would come in all the time. You know, it was a nonstop thing of people just, well, I know I can park there, so I'll come in. And the drummer would come in and buy some stuff while he was there. And then that drummer would tell the next drummer and then the next drummer. And one of the guys that really helped me was Carmine Appice, or at that time he was Appice, but Carmine Appice. We've been friends long before they opened the shop. And he and I are still great friends. We still talk all the time.
I mean, basically wrote the rudimental book for beginning rock drummers.
Yes, he's the man. So he really helped me spread the word from all the drummer cronies. So all of a sudden, some of these younger drummers that were just now getting exposed would come in and I would do a clinic or an in-store with anybody. I don't care who they were. And half my customers had no idea, but they couldn't wait to come in and meet like a Johnny Vatos or a Mark Schulman or a Terry Bozzio or a Ginger Baker or whatever. They couldn't wait to come meet. So the people would just flock to meet someone either old or new. And so those old relationships now are still rock solid relationships with me now with Sabian Cymbals because I'm now handling their needs half the time. And then we're still pals. So so my retail store just grew and grew and grew. You know, we won all the awards you can win, like in drum retail, music retail. And then something happened called the internet. And I was, as you know, I was old school, right? You'd come in, hell, we didn't have a fucking cash register. You know, I never had a cash register. We had a bank bag.
I remember that. That's right.
Yeah, we had a bank bag, man. We had one that went ding to give the impression we had a cash register, but we never did. Everything was by hand, all the stuff. Slowly, our huge retail business, we would floor 150 kits. Every cymbal company in the world we'd floor. We were big into used, big into vintage. One Guitar Center opened near me on Colorado Boulevard. I went up in sales because they excite the market. When 4 or 5 opened up around me in the surrounding area, I lost residual sales, cymbal sticks, impulse buy sales, all that went away. So it hurt financially. And the internet was just coming on. So we were on the internet, but we didn't understand like shopping carts, buy it now. eBay was in its infancy back then.
I'm looking for a China Boy right now for my set. And I'm not going to just buy a cymbal. I want to hear the cymbal I'm going to put on my kit. There's the exact sound you want on your kit.
Right. And you're right. So the internet was taking away some of our vintage business and some of our new business. And we weren't savvy on it yet. We just weren't. And then I got audited by the IRS in 2000, I think it was year 2000, I believe, or 2002. And it was an onslaught. It's like the worst case scenario you could ever get from an IRS agent. I was that guy.
Well, clearly not the worst case because you didn't do any time.
Well, no. I beat them. I refused to sign over any documents because I had done nothing wrong. I even claimed my gig money in these little clubs I played around Denver. If I made $50, I claimed it, man.
So you did it by the books, huh?
I did it by the. I had one set of books and they were accurate. And they came after me for 13 months. And I finally said, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. You're going to have to take me to court. And they dropped everything because they had nothing on me. So I won the audit. But after that, I thought, I'm not going to do this anymore because as much hard work I did, I couldn't stand walking in my store anymore because everybody wanted to buy from you cheaper because my prices were always fair, as you know. They were always like the best you can get in the country, probably. So when the Guitar Centers came in, they had much bigger buying power than I had. They were right down the street from me. So I would see my loyal customers go over there and like buy DW kits or Ludwig kits from them when I had the better price. But it was just one of those exploratory things for customers. And then they'd come into me and want me to match pricing, which I always had the best price. So I didn't need to match anybody's price because mine was the lowest in the area. But it got to be insulting for me because when someone asks you to bring your prices down, they're saying that you want to work harder for less money, right? And that's any industry. And people come in and fight me over the price of sticks. And we were half off on sticks, half off on heads, whatever. I just wore out fighting with the IRS, and I just sort of wore out. So that's when I said, I'm done. And I put it up for sale in 2003 and sold it.
It still carries your name. That's how powerful the brand is. The new owners didn't want to rebrand their drum shop. It's still Rupp's Drums.
It is. I sold the name, and I proudly sold the name because people still know who I am from that name. Now people still know who I am from the history of Rupp's Drums. And now that I'm with Sabian, I'm sort of going like a national, international vibe on what I used to do at Rupp's, I do for Sabian. And now, ironically, I handle the Guitar Center account. So ironically, I'd say this is the irony of my industry. I handle the Guitar Center account, ironically. I work with Sweetwater Music. I work with Sam Ash. And I also work with all the independent retailers in the country.
Now let's talk about what you do for Sabian, because we just lightly touched on it. But what's exactly, I know you travel around the country and do all the conferences and the fairs for them and the trade shows.
That's what I do. So for years with Sabian, I was the key account manager, which was a pretty big title. And then they had some structural changes in corporate. And they had the need for me to be in the field more, working with independent retailers. So as the key account manager, I was only handling Guitar Center. And then I was pulled off that account and given the Midwest and the West as a regional manager, which is like 20 states, huge territory, a lot of work. And then they did some more restructuring. And now I'm the product and training specialist, which is where I need to be because I'm good at that. So all the products that we come out with, I'm the guy that goes all over the country in Canada and trains stores, whether it's small room training or large auditorium training, public speaking. I do all that. Then I do all the events.
You teach retailer how to demo your product.
Correct. I teach them how to sell.
You're the guy that has to make sure that people know what they got.
That's me. And I'm the only guy, I think, in my industry that has that title, product and training specialist. I'm the only guy in my division. Now I report to one of the vice presidents in Canada, but I'm the only guy. Now we have field guys. We have field reps, which I used to be a field rep. And then we have some what we call independent reps that also rep other brands out there. So between me and then artist relations on the West Coast, and then we have a B&O guy as well who's awesome. And so there's a B&O guy that specifies that. There's an education guy, artist relations covers the entire world in California. And then I'm the product specialist. So there's a core, like 5 Sabian employees. And then there's some reps that are captive, meaning they work for Sabian. Some reps that are independent, which means they rep other brands. So I'm constantly busy with those programs I'm doing.
And you literally flying all over the nation.
All over the nation and all over Canada. And then I also handle Guitar Center again with one of the partners in Canada. We dual handle Guitar Center. So I'm back on that again. And that's a struggle because there's 300 stores. And that means 300 stores of inventory and promotions and sales. And so it takes a lot of time up, but it's really fun because, you can change a SKU and make a move, for their entire chain.
Are you consulting at all or still involved with Rupp at all?
No, not at all. They're having a sale tomorrow. So I'm going to go over there tomorrow and participate. It's like a day of percussion or something. I'm going to do that. But no, I consult. I consult other people in the drum industry. I never charge a nickel because it's goodwill. So I consult other members of companies. I can't say who. I consult lots of the rock star guys. They call me about this and that. And I'll tell them what I think they should do with their career, or if it's a drum set switch or whatever, a music switch, or just I need work. What can you find anything? I do a lot of that for the big rock star guys. I don't say who they are, so it's all private. I never charge them a nickel because the camaraderie and the friendship is worth way more than like $100 an hour or whatever it is. I mean, it's invaluable.
Your business experience and your understanding of sales and community, it always comes back. And you've always had that business-minded understanding of things where it was the relationship.
Correct.
If the relationship is there, at some point it'll come back financially later. It's about the relationship.
And a lot of retailers don't understand that the money you spend on advertising, let's just say advertising alone, cost X amount of dollars to get that customer off his ass to get into your shop. Okay. What's it cost you to lose that customer? Right? So if you get the customer in the door and don't follow up with goodwill, or free tuning, or just come on down and have a hot dog on Saturday and hang out with me. You don't have to buy anything. That kind of reach out to the community, it paid back in volumes, man. But a lot of people just ignore the customer. They were right out the door and you never see them again. I always felt, I still feel this way working for the second largest cymbal company in the world, is that the customer feels two ways. Now, my customers now are retailers, and then their customers are consumers. But I still do one-on-one action with the consumer when I can. But they feel good or they feel bad. And they feel bad, they're going to tell a bunch of people. They feel good. Today it's Yelp and all these other things, but this didn't exist back then. But they would, hey, that guy at Rupp's, that was great. But if they feel bad, they're going to tell a lot more people. So my thing was, no one feels bad if they go out the door, and if they do, I'm going to take care of it.
Let me ask you, as a musician and someone that knows their industry better than most, vintage drums, what's the best?
Ludwig always sells. Okay, Ludwig is a consistent seller because the name brand holds up and the quality was there. And they had fairly decent hardware back then, and they had great colors. For me as a collector, as you know, because you bought one from me, my money's always on Ludwig as far as my first purchase to find things. Now, do I have Slingerland? Yes, of course I do. Do I have Rogers? Of course. Do I have Gretsch? Of course.
What's the best sounding that holds up over time, in your opinion?
Well, that's a tough one. Because sound is an ambiguous thing to the drummer. So for me as a player, I can get my sound out of an old Ludwig kit or a new Ludwig kit or a new DW kit or something like that. Because I'm a traditionalist when it comes to American brands. That's me. But there's some Slingerlands that sound great. There's some Gretsches that sound fantastic. So in olden times, Ludwig made their own shells and Slingerland made their own shells. And after Beatlemania and the onslaught of the British invasion, all the companies, including Sabian and everybody else in the world, Sabian at that time was called ASCO, had to make stuff quicker and get it out there in the field. So a lot of those beautiful Ludwig drums that were made back then were shipped out wet. The glue wasn't dry yet. So some of the drums went a bit out of round, but back then, drummers could tune drums, and they would tune the drums to the studios. That's kind of a lost art today. So they would just bring the Ludwig kit in or the Slingerland or Gretsch kit in, get it tuned up, and all those great tones that we're trying to recreate today in the studio that like Bonham did and Ringo did and Charlie did, all those killer
Keith.
Keith, I love it. My favorite one's Keith. All those awesome tones, those guys just set the drums up, kind of tweaked the heads, figured the room out, and went for it. Half that shit's cut live. You had to have good drums, but you had to have good knowledge of tuning. I can't say those guys had the knowledge of tuning we have today, but they knew how to make the drums sound like themselves.
Okay, so let me change the question to, in your personal opinion of sound quality taste.
I would say Ludwig because I'm a Ludwig fanatic.
Okay.
But some other guy would say Gretsch, or they'd say Slingerland. But I don't play any vintage drums. I have Ludwig Classic Maple. I have Ludwig Vistalite brand new Vistalite. I have DW Collector's Maple and DW Mahogany Maple I just got 2 weeks ago.
How do you decide which kit you're playing when you play out?
It's my mood.
Is it?
Yeah, the mood up because I have.
How many kits do you have?
I own 4 that I keep in the cycle, and I own like 10 really high end snares. But the other stuff I don't keep. I sell. Keep it circulating. I sell it all. So all my vintage kits that you see on Facebook or whatever, all those are for sale because I don't play them. Stuff passes through your hands in life that you might regret selling and you might not. It includes drums. I've owned a bunch of properties that I never should have sold, but I sold because sometimes you need money, and there's your cash. My favorite drum set is my next drum set.
I love that.
That's my next one. That's my favorite kit because the ones I have now I love, but they don't love me back. They're cool. They're cool looking. The DW kit I got is shockingly beautiful, and there was the Ludwig kit that I sold you was shockingly beautiful. They're just round things. Drums, in reality, they're just round things. Some are wood, some are plastic, some are metal. Some go boom, some go bang. Like cymbals. Cymbals go crash. Now cymbals, the defined art of making a cymbal, because I work for Sabian and watch them make cymbals, really intricate where even a slight lathing mark will change the tone and the complexity of the cymbal.
Yeah, you use the wrong polish on it, it'll change the sound of the cymbal forever.
Yeah, well, not too much. I mean, that polish is mostly a myth. There's certain polishes that are more abrasive, but that's when you're hearing with your eyes and not your ears. Because I guarantee you, you put a bunch of cymbals behind you, blindfolded, and hit them, you're not going to know which ones are polished and which ones are wrong. Well, I can't, and I'm like a cymbal specialist, and I can't,
No, just to make them look shiny on stage,
yes,
right?
And I like shiny. I like dull. I don't care about that. I like the sound. But with a drum kit, I mean, there's DW is the forerunner on making really cool exotic kits that sell those sonar as well.
So what about Tama? I see that Lars still plays Tama. When somebody like that is playing stadiums, he's playing on a Tama kit. Are there 400 kids coming into the stores next week, like trying to buy a Tama kit because Lars is on it?
It all depends how effective Lars is in advertising anymore. Metallica is still giant, but are kids going out buying double bass kits anymore for listening to Metallica? I don't think so. I'm an American product traditionalist. That's what I am. But I also love Sonar drums because the way they're built in Germany. And I also loved Premier drums for years because they were all handmade in England. All these other, what I call the Asian brands, Tama, Yamaha, Mapex, Pearl, all of them, if you buy their high end, you're going to get a great kit. I mean, you're going to get a spectacular kit. And it's probably going to be a little bit less the American kits. Because they've got the wood down to a science, they got the lacquering down to a science. So those companies killed the American drum companies 30 years ago because they came in with a decent product for a lower price. Now they've upped their ante, like every company's upped their ante now. So any company's high end, you can't go wrong. The names I like to sit behind. When you sit behind that kit, there's a logo out front. Those names to me are DW and Ludwig. Because those names make me comfortable and I love the drums. I have never played a gig other than sitting in on a Yamaha kit, a Pearl kit, or a Tama kit. Now, I'm not knocking the drums. I think they're great drums. But for me, as a traditionalist, I have to have an American name in front of or Sono or Premier, those brands.
Let me ask you about glam rock. Bands like Slaughter and Tommy Lee.
Right.
And ironically, Tommy in the middle of Dr. Feelgood tour went from playing a double bass to like a 4-piece kit.
Yeah.
And changed it all up. But to show how simple it really could be and was still able to produce the same sounds.
Because he was triggering everything.
Well, yeah, there's that.
And there's that. There's triggering. That was a great time to be in retail because, I never mentioned my competitors and I'm still not going to bring them up now. We had the Goods and we had the Moxie. Those days, hell, I'd have 20 double bass kits in stock. And that just added to the bottom line, man. Everybody wanted 2 bass drums and those stupid rack systems. My God. We'd order Volker racks in that were like $1,000. Then you had to house them and transport them.
Well, it was amazing too, because watching bands build them.
Oh, so dumb. But you know what? I shouldn't knock it. I don't care what people play as long as they're playing drums.
Nobody can see you behind that cage. It's like if you're trying to be a rock star, it's hard to get famous and no one can see you
Get all
behind
that
the
mucky
cage.
muck out of the way, because the way I hang my cymbals upside down. Like I go up here with the boom stand and they cymbals.
So they hang down right and float.
Yeah, because people can see me then. That's why I did it. I stole that from Sheila E. That was a Sheila E. trick that I stole. And I thought, that's pretty cool. So I started hanging them that way. And that way you had a clear view of what I was doing because I'm an integral part of the live show.
Because Ringo played a kit just like yours and you could see him.
Yeah, but he had his cymbals way low. I wanted to be seen because it wasn't an ego thing. It was just experiencing the band from the audience thing, is that everybody in all my bands have been extremely active on stage and visual, which keeps the customer interested. And I'm, I wouldn't say flamboyant drummer, but I'm kind of like a Moon and a Ringo type of vibe. That's sort of how I play.
You got a vintage vibe to it, yeah.
Yeah, it's a vintage vibe, but I do a lot of tricks and all that. But I don't do all this spinny stuff. I just do a lot of cool moves and whatever it is, doesn't matter. But it's important for the drummer to be noticed because believe me, unless you're writing songs and really out there in the field, no one's going to know who you are.
Yeah, it's hard to be Tommy Lee.
Right. And there's guys out there right now that you probably book that are old, aging rock stars that are still playing the hits from the 80s, which is nothing wrong with that. A lot of those guys didn't do well with their money, so they have to tour. I love watching the classic guys play because you're guaranteed a great show. You're guaranteed a sing-along night. But then I also love discovering brand new bands. I was at the Ogden the other night. The band Blackberry Smoke who I think are just phenomenal Southern rock.
They're touring with Cadillac 3, Blackberry
Yeah,
Smoke?
so Cadillac 3 opened. I'd never heard of them before.
They're great.
Love the band. No bass player. I'm like, what is going on here? They were awesome. Then Blackberry Smoke to me is just probably the best Southern rock band out there right now. And I signed that guy 5 years ago.
Some bands to check out for sure if you don't know them. Cadillac 3 and Blackberry Smoke.
And I would check out the Struts.
Great rock band.
Yeah, that's probably the best rock band I've seen in years, and the best lead singer I've seen in years. And a new band out of Atlanta called The Biters.
The Biters.
Okay, I just signed that drummer yesterday to a Sabian deal. They are straight ahead 70s, almost T-Rexy rock and roll with killer rock hooks, killer vocals. Traditional 4-piece rock band, shag cuts. They look great, and they're called the Biters.
The Biters. Great rock and roll advice for bands to check out from Bob Rupp. Thank you so much for being with us on the podcast, man.
Danny Steinberg. Well, this is great to be on Promoter 101. I'm thrilled to be here.
Bob is a legend. We love that he survived cancer and came out the other side. The city of Denver just celebrated Bob with his own official day, Bob Rupp Day, with an official citation from the mayor. To say that he's next level is just an understatement. I can honestly say I wouldn't be where I am today without the help of Bob Rupp steering me along my path many, many years ago. Big ups to Bob Rupp.
Hi, this is Nick Gold from Entertainment Travel, and I'm on Promoter 101.
If you want to reach out to us, send us an email to steiny@promoter101.net. We promise we'll get back to you.
And you know what, Dan? This is the end of day 10 of Promoter 101's 12 Days of Christmas. That means there's only 2 more interviews left. On the 30th of December and the 31st of December, Dan and I are going to be wrapping up with 2 more featured interviews. These are small, abridged versions of the Promoter 101 podcast designed to give you a fix during the holiday season. We hope that you'll tune in and have been enjoying these last 10 featured interviews during the 12 Days of Christmas. There are 2 more. Make sure you tune in tomorrow, December 30th, for the 11th day of the 12 Days of Christmas.
Just a little something to help you avoid your family along the way. Maybe stick out in the corner, get a fix. Like, I'm doing work, I got to listen to the podcast. Something like that. Anyway, wishing you sold out shows for the days to come. Cheers, everybody.
This is Peter Schwartz, WMA in New York on Promoter 101.
Let's have some fun!